What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the KREF High School Huddle right here on our KREF Sports TV YouTube page. Glad you're with us. And remember, as always, follow us on IG, on Twitter, on Facebook for all of our highlights, game updates, game graphics. And if you were following us on social media, you knew that we had games that were moved from Tuesday to Wednesday, which is why we're recording this podcast a day later than we normally do. So remember, follow us on our social medias. We're going to get everything out to you about our teams that we cover here on KREFsports.tv. That's Connor Pasby. I'm Grayson Singleton. Thank you guys so much for watching. And we've got a ton of baseball to get to. We've got some soccer to preview for the weekend. And we're going to start with Edlum baseball. Monday and Wednesday games, as Tuesday's games were postponed because of weather. We made them up on Wednesday. Let's start with game number 1, and we'll pick it up in the top of the 5th inning with Memorial down 6-4. Cooper Tardokas, he reaches on an error that scores Rhett Winchester, and Tardokas ends up at second base. That makes it a 6-5 game. Couple of batters later, Tardokas at third, Justin Tracy sends a sac fly into left field. That'll score Tardokas, and all of a sudden the game is tied at 6. Memorial trying to come back and keep their undefeated district record alive. Tyler Robinson, he grounds out, but that allows Jace Winchester to score when the third baseman had trouble fielding it, and that allows the run to come home, and Memorial leads 7-6. And finally, Tracy again doubles down the left field line. Tardokas, he scores again. It's an 8-6 lead for Edmond Memorial, who goes on to win 9-6. Now, Game 2 was a different story. Game 1, a little bit more of the bats. Game 2, that game belonged to Cole Dunlap on Wednesday. 11 strikeouts in the 2-0 win for Edmond Memorial as the Bulldogs continue their undefeated start to the district slate. They're now 14-2 on the season. Brandon Green for Edmond North, by the way, had 6 strikeouts in the Game 2 loss. So, Connor, we come to you for the first time today. How about Edmond Memorial getting the sweep of their rival Edmond North and remaining unbeaten atop that district?
Yeah, Grace, Memorial did it in really 2 different ways in both the games. High scoring in the first game, pitchers duel. They played great defense behind Dunlap in Game 2. So it's a team that's really clicking on all cylinders. They jumped out in that first game. They jumped out to a 4-0 lead. They did not look back. They continued to put together some great at-bats. Continued that lead for them. They looked fantastic, and so many weapons that they have in the starting lineup, and they're a team that is fun to watch right now.
Yeah, well, let's go ahead and give you the standings for 6A District 1-2. So you see Edmond Memorial atop at 6-0. UConn jumps into second after the sweep of Edmond North drops the Huskies into a 2-way tie for third, along with Westmore, and then Mustang following them up. So Edmond Memorial, UConn, and then Edmond North and Westmore all separated by 2 games early in the slate. What stands out to you about this outside of Edmond Memorial being the leader?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the competition continues to pick up at the 6A level. There's so many teams that have a chance to really make a deep run in the postseason. I know we still have plenty of games left in the regular season, but there's not just one team. There's plenty of teams that have played great baseball as of late, and they have some great hitters, great pitching. They do it all. So it's not just Memorial. There's some other teams that are playing good baseball behind them, Grayson.
Speaking of teams that had been playing good baseball, up until this point, Piedmont in 6A District 2 came into this district home and home with Norman North, unbeaten in the district. And Game 1 on Monday night in Piedmont belonged to Catcher Lindley. And another shameless plug, if you follow us on Twitter, you would have seen Catcher Lindley's 8 strikeouts and a dominant performance that led Piedmont to an 8-1 win. So what would Wednesday hold? Again, after a day off due to weather, we recommenced on Wednesday afternoon. And Game 2 belonged to Austin Eyrig, and we'll get to that in a second. But let's go to the bottom of the 6th inning. Evan Vineyard's up to bat here with 2 runners on. He lays down a bunt, and we think it's just to move the runners to second and third to create that situation with 1 out. Instead, this happens.
Vineyard gets the bunt down. Harrington comes over from third and throws it away. This is going to allow Reyes to score. And here comes the runner from third, and the secondary runner scores. A couple of blunders in the field for Piedmont allows the insurance run +1 to score for Norman North.
Well, it looked like Smith was going to hold up at third on that second run, but Vineyard able to lay down a bunt. That ball was high inside, but he's able to lay down that bunt perfectly, third base line.
So it turns from a one-run game into a couple of insurance runs coming across for Norman North. Now, in the seventh inning, in the top of the seventh inning, Austin Eyrig gets another strikeout, but then allows 2 runners on. So Brian Ayler goes to the pen. He brings in Ty Lashbrook. Ty Lashbrook comes over from third, where Eyrig replaces him, and strikes out the final 2 batters to end the game. So Norman North ends Piedmont's undefeated start to the district slate and gets the split, which earns them a district win. Norman North now 3-3, and that keeps them a little bit more in play for those top 2 spots or so. Only 2 games back in the loss column of both Piedmont and Edmond Santa Fe. So this was a game 2, that you and I called together last night. How fun was that? First, let's start with Austin Eyrig and the 7 strikeouts.
Yeah, Austin Eyrig was fantastic, and Norman North, they played great defense behind him, and Eyrig continued to pound the zone, had great velo with his fastball, but Grayson, we saw him use his curveball quite a bit, and he was able to throw it for a strike, and that helps a pitcher so much. So Austin Eyrig put together a great performance on the mound, and he also got help behind him.
Yeah, we'll put those 6A District 2 standings back up again. So Edmond, Santa Fe, and Piedmont are tied atop the district at 5-1. Choctaw, a really good Yellow Jacket team, at 4-2 right behind them. Then there's Moore, Norman North, and Deer Creek, who are all separated by a game and a half, so to speak. We'll have to figure out how some of those are going to be made up because of the weather and whatnot. Moore and Deer Creek in their series, which we'll get to here in just a couple of seconds, did not play a second game because of the weather, so we'll have to wait and see how they're going to redo that. Eisenhower and Putnam City are winless behind them. So a lot going on here. Piedmont was unbeaten. Now, Santa Fe is probably going to be the team that everybody thinks is the best team in the district. But Piedmont's been hitting. This could kind of be a little bit of an aberration for them, especially because they've gotten some of the tougher teams in the district out of the way.
Yeah, it's a difficult district, and Piedmont, you're right, Grayson. They got a lot of those games out of the way early on in the season, and Norman North, they were finally able to get them in Game 2, but it's still a very talented Piedmont team. They have great arms. A lot of those good arms, they also play in the field, so that shows they can do it both. They can pitch and they can hit in the lineup, so it's still a Piedmont team that's got everything in front of them, but it was still a great performance by Norman North, putting together a complete game, something that they've been waiting on to do because they've had some errors that have picked up throughout the game in their losses. So that's a great sign for Norman North to put all that together.
No, I agree. And exactly to that. 6-2, the pitching was good. The defense behind them was solid. And they got timely hitting and a couple of balls. Sometimes in sports, you just need a couple things to break your way. And you look at the Vineyard bunt where the ball just gets stuck in the glove of the first baseman and he can't get it over to home plate, and that allows a second run to score in. Good pitching change, I thought, in that top of the 7th inning from Coach Ayler, bringing in Ty Lashbrook to finish things off after a really good start from Eyrig. So a lot of really good things coaching-wise in the field, and then you got your lucky breaks that were able to get Norman North the win. Piedmont's schedule, just to go back to that real fast, they have already swept Moore and Deer Creek, and then they split with Norman North. They still have Choctaw, and they still have Edmond Santa Fe. So a lot still to be determined in that top 3 of the district.
It is, yeah. Choctaw's a team we obviously haven't seen them a ton, but they're at the top, and they've been playing well. Santa Fe, we know what they can do on an every game basis. They've been a tough team to beat, and Piedmont still has to play them. We know that they'll put together a good performance. We know how good Piedmont is as a whole. So, yeah, they still got everything in front of them.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's go to one game that happened on Monday, and we mentioned the Deer Creek Moore series did not play a second game and opted not to reschedule, at least to this week, for the second game of that district game. But we want to take you to Monday because the game was tied 3-3 going into the bottom of the 7th inning. Connor Atkinson had been on the mound the entire game for the Antlers, and it pitched a very good outing for Deer Creek. But something happened at the end of the game, and it ended in walk-off fashion for the Lions.
Determined to get out of this inning himself.
So one away, winning run at third
First pitch gets away. They're going to send the run, and the Lions win. They walk it off on a pass ball, and Moore takes it 4-3 in 7.
Caleb Shaw from KREFSports.tv on the call of the walk-off wild pitch as Moore gets a big district win. And, of course, that makes things a little bit hairy in the district because of the games behind. Moore's only played 5. Deer Creek's only played 5, whereas Norman North and Piedmont and Edmond Santa Fe have played their full 6. So that's going to get a little hairy. It'll work itself out. But, balls bouncing your way. They all bounced Moore's way on Monday night.
Yeah, it did. And Moore's starting to put together some good wins now. And they're right in the middle of the pack in 6A2. And when you look at the other side for Deer Creek, man, they're now 6-8. But tons of those games have been close losses that just haven't gone their way. Moore got lucky at the end. The wild pitch that just got past the catcher. Moore's able to score on it, walk-off fashion. Great spot for them. They put themselves in a good spot in that 7th inning to get the walk-off win. So hats off to the Lions.
Yeah, and for Moore, they've won 8 of their last 10. So starting to play better at around the time where you want to start ascending. So keep an eye on Joe Haddock's team. Let's go to soccer to close our show out. And we've got some pretty premier matchups for you over the soccer weekend. And here's some things that we want to keep an eye on. This game was moved to tonight, by the way. Bixby will take on Jinx in a district matchup. And Bixby's girls are starting to become must-see TV, especially if you like offense. They have the second most goals. They scored 30 in the non-district slate. They've scored the second most in all of 6A. And they're going to face a tough matchup tonight with Jinx. So we'll see if that offense can continue.
Yeah, it's a team that's got so much firepower. They're able to get down the field, put themselves in good spots to capitalize on their goals. So they've been a fun team to watch. Got to see them a few weeks ago at Bixby. A tough loss to Owasso, but you can see the talent that they have on the field. So it'll be fun to watch the Bixby girls and the boys side tonight.
Yeah, they're playing Sand Springs tonight as well.
Yep.
I did misspeak. That was the last opponent that they faced, Bixby and Jinx, before this coming week. So they'll play Sand Springs. That game moved to tonight, trying to get it in before some of the weather gets in that is expected over the weekend. Edmond Memorial's boys, still on the soccer, they have a plus 14 goal differential. That is tied for second highest goal differential in 6A through the non-district slate. So you're going to want to keep an eye on them, combining offense and defense. And Memorial's put together a couple of really nice wins in the non-district.
Yeah, they've been able to score. They've been having good defensive linemen out on the field, and Memorial continues to get good win after good win, blowing out teams, and they're playing great soccer as of right now.
3 straight shutouts for the Bulldogs soccer. Those shutouts were a 1-0 win over Northwest Classen, who's a pretty good team, by the way.
Yeah.
At Edmond Santa Fe, 3-0 win, or 3-0 win. Let me correct myself there. And then a 9-0 win over Western Heights on March the 28th, their last game. So, again, all of their games except for one have been shutouts. They're 5-1. The one time where they allowed a goal, it was a 2-0 loss to Norman North, who, by the way, has the highest goal differential on the boys' side in 6A. So it'll be fun once we get Norman North, get a Norman North game here on KREFSports.tv.
Yeah, and every time those two teams match up, it is always fun. We know Norman North girls always put together a good team on the field every single year. You can say the same thing about Memorial, even the other two Edmond schools as well. But Memorial is usually one of the teams to beat at the 6A level.
Edmond Memorial will take on Putnam City. That game will be on KREFSports.tv. That's tomorrow night, by the way. So the Bixby and Sand Springs game, just so everybody's clear, that's the only one that was moved up to tonight. So Memorial and Putnam City is going to be tomorrow, as is Southmore and Edmond Santa Fe, where we'll have Ethan and Cameron on the call for that one. So, whether there's going to be fireworks or not, there's going to be fireworks on the broadcasting side with those two. But Edmond Santa Fe, of course, looking to rebound after that loss to Edmond Memorial on both the girls and the boys' side. And Southmore trying to get some footing on this season as well.
Yeah, and 2 KREF teams that we'll get to see toward the back half the season. So it should be a lot of fun between the SaberCats and the Wolves when they match up.
No, yeah, it should be a lot of fun. So a lot of baseball this week. There's some soccer to close us out. We'll recap all of soccer and what happened there on our next week's episode. But this week, a little bit baseball heavy, but, we had rescheduled some baseball. We had some really good series, too, as the season is now entering into the sprint part of the season. We're in the midway point.
Yeah, you're starting to see teams that maybe got off to a slow start at the beginning, but now they started to pick up some crucial districts wins, and that's what you always like to see. You want to play your best baseball later in the year, and we have several of our KREF teams doing just that.
A lot of strikeouts in this show today.
Well, it's good pitching every single year.
Yeah.
We see good pitching. We see pitchers who are maybe committed to D1. Last year we had a kid drafted early with Owen Hall for Edmond North, so it's great pitching at the 6A level every single year.
Yeah, no doubt. This is going to be a fun season as we continue to go along. All right, that'll do it for this week's edition of the KREF High School Huddle here on our KREF Sports TV YouTube page. As a reminder, always follow us on IG, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook. We're going to get you all the information, the highlights that you want to know for your kids or maybe even yourself as well. That's Connor Pasby. I'm Grayson Singleton. So long, and be sure to watch all of our games today, tomorrow, and into next week. Talk to you next week.